There is a conversation happening in the student recruitment industry that students are not part of, and it's costing them not just money, time, opportunity, sometimes years of their lives spent in programs they did not need at schools that were not right for them, on pathways that were going nowhere. It was taking them to absolutely no place. So today I want to put that conversation in front of you because you deserve to know what is happening before you hand anyone your future. Let's start with how recruitment agents actually make money. Because when you understand that, everything else makes sense. Most recruitment agents, not all, that is, but most, are paid by the schools, not by the students, by the institutions. They earn a commission for every student they place, and the more students they send to a particular school, the more they get paid. Now, think about what that creates. An agent who is partnered with a set of schools has a financial incentive to send students to those schools, regardless of whether those schools are the right fit, regardless of whether the program aligns with the student's career goals, regardless of whether that institution gives the student the best chance of staying in Canada long term. The recommendation is shaped by the commission, not the student's outcome. Canada's own government has documented this. The CBC investigated it in a hidden camera, sending an undercover agent to agents in India who were caught making promises of guaranteed employment and permanent residency that had no basis in reality. And then Ontario's Minister of Colleges called out those bad actors explicitly, describing false promises being made to vulnerable students thousands of kilometers away from the countries they were trying to reach. This is not a fringe problem. In 2024, nearly 50,000 international students did not attend the schools they were placed in. 50,000. This is not a glitch. That is a system that was not built around student success. Let me tell you what this actually looks like on the ground. Um, a student comes from Nigeria or India or Ghana. They have a background in engineering or healthcare or business. They have a goal. Maybe it's a specific career. Maybe it's a pathway to permanent residency. Maybe it's just building a better life. They find an agent. The agent seems helpful. The agent shows them options, and the student was never navigated the Canadian education system before, trust the person in front of them. Now, the program they end up in, it was available, it was approved, it had a spot, but it had nothing to do with where the student wanted to go. So I've seen students placed in general business diplomas when their background was in science and their immigration pathway required something else entirely. I've seen students pushed towards private colleges, not because those colleges were best suited, but because those colleges paid higher commissions to the agents who placed students there. And the student only figures this out after they arrive, after the money has been paid, after the visa has been issued, after the life decisions have already been made. And then the questions they start. Why doesn't it qualify for the postgraduate work permit I was counting on? Why am I in a city where there are no jobs in my field? Why is my diploma not being recognized by employers? These are not worst case scenarios. These are patterns I see repeatedly. So what is the alternative? What does it look like when the process is done right? All right. It starts before any school is mentioned, like before anyone starts to talk to you about schools, before any application is discussed, before any fees are paid. It starts with the student. A genuine advisor, and I mean someone who actually has educational counseling capacity, not just a sales rep for a set of schools, ask different questions first. Now, they would ask questions like, what are your academic strengths? What career are you actually trying to build? What does your immigration pathway need to look like for you to stay in Canada long term? What province gives you the best combination of opportunities and sustainability? What programs, at what level, from what type of institution gives you the strongest postgraduate positioning? These are not easy questions. We know that, right? They require knowledge of the Canadian education system, the labor market, provincial immigration programs, and postgraduate work permit eligibility. They require someone who is thinking about your outcome, not their commission. Now, the difference between a recruitment agent and an educational counselor is not just a title, it is a fundamental difference in who they are accountable to. An agent is accountable to the school, an educational counselor is accountable to you. If the person helping you has never asked about your long term goals, ask yourself, who are they actually working for? Before you talk to an agent, before you visit any school website, before you ask anyone for recommendations, ask these 3 questions for yourself. Question 1. What do I actually want to do in Canada and how long am I planning to stay? Now, are you coming to study and return home? Are you coming with the intention of building a life in Canada permanently? Are you aiming for PR within 5 years, right? Your answer to these questions should shape every single program and school decision that follows. If you haven't answered these clearly, you're not ready to apply to anything. Question 2. Does this program give me a postgraduate work permit? And if the province where actually is this the province where I actually want to work? Not all programs qualify, not all schools qualify, and the rules have changed more than once in the last 3 years. If an agent cannot give you a clear, documented answer to this question, then that tells you everything you need to know about the quality of their guidance, right? Now, question 3. Is the person advising me paid by the school or by me? Ask it directly. If they're paid by the school, understand that the recommendation you receive is influenced by that relationship. Now, that does not automatically make the advice wrong, but it means you have to ask harder follow-up questions and ideally get a second opinion from someone whose income is not dependent on where you enroll. These are not complicated. They just require you to slow down at a moment when everyone around you is telling you to move fast. Now, here is what I want you to take from this. There are good agents, there are good institutions, there are people in this industry who genuinely care about student outcomes and do the work to prove it. But the industry also has a structural problem. And until you understand that problem, you cannot protect yourself from it. Your education is not a transaction. Your future is not a placement quota. And you deserve guidance that starts with you, who you are, not with what is available. If you're planning to study in Canada and you want a support that actually starts with your goals, not with a school list, the link to speak with J3V3 Canada is in the description below. We have educational counselors as part of our advisory structure, specifically because we believe that this step, knowing what is right for you before anything else, is where every Canada journey should begin. Now, subscribe if this was useful. Share it with someone who is in the middle of this process right now. And remember, the most important part of your application is the decision you make before you apply. See you in the next one.